Hi, I'm Danny of RxFit, corrective fitness company. Today we're covering shoulder pain. When to push through or push back. What is good shoulder pain? What is bad shoulder pain? We've all heard that push through the pump thing, right? And that's how you get your gains. Well, the one thing you want to identify is 3 different types of pain, right? I generally describe them between the throbbing muscular pain, that's when the blood swells into the muscle, it makes the shoulder expand. You have the lightning bolt pain, when it is very bad, by the way, when the muscle compresses against the nerve. In this case, it might be the backside of the ulnar nerve, and you feel the lightning bolt go down your arm. That's very bad. Or the compression pain of having what feels like bones touching each other. It's not actually the case, but what it feels like is happening inside your shoulder. Only one of those should be pushed through. And that is, of course, the first one, when you feel the muscle swell and you feel that fatigue and the strain. But the other 2, lightning bolts or any kind of compression between bones, very bad. All right? So let's get into how to identify the 3. If you put the shoulder under any kind of contraction, let's say before you work out, and I want to pull against the joint, like so, and you feel that like, bad. Any kind of stress onto the muscle should not cause it to compress, like so. All right? Now, also, whenever you do a workout, let's say you are gardening or you're doing a ride class or just using your arms a lot, then you're gonna have some swelling in the muscle, and that swelling might push pressure against the nerve. That's how you know that is specifically a nerve pain, all right? So those 2, that's how you test for it. You wanna put strain against the muscle to see if it's any kind of compression from the bones. You want to, when you're doing a workout and you feel your muscles swell, and put pressure against the nerve, and for that lightning bolt, that's how you know it's a nerve, all right? In either of those cases, it's generally the best way to find that problem, but if you're good, and you can do your workout probably through push through muscular fatigue. Pretty common actually is rotator cuff injuries / tendonitis. All right, anytime you hear any type of itis, by the way, I want to establish this, any type of itis, shoulder, knee, ankle, plantar fasciitis, it will be a inflammation problem, right? And inflammation, there's an entire video on that because it's very complicated, but essentially you have swelling of some type. It could be environmental, like allergies, it could be diet, it could be, strain on the body. In this case, we're going to assume that it's strain, right? The tendonitis and rotator cuff. So rotator cuff, hey bird, rotator cuff. When we're referring to rotator cuff, they're talking about a few different muscles. With the infraspinatus, I should probably turn around, but supraspinatus is underneath the trap here. There's an infraspinatus back here. There's a teres major next to the scapula. And their job is to do this with the shoulder, is to rotate this way, okay? And that's why if you go to a physical therapist, they'll have you do like stuff like this, they'll have you here, they'll have you pull externally. It's all to get the shoulder in a more back position. Now, rotator cuff injuries are because you've developed weakness somewhere in that rotation and you're compensating somewhere else, right? So you're like pulling your shoulder forward. Maybe it doesn't have the range of motion back in this range here. So your shoulder will hurt and become compressed in the socket here whenever you're putting it into an extreme range for whatever reason that you're doing, right? Or in the case of tendonitis, the swelling is causing it to prevent that range because of overuse, like a pitcher in baseball, okay? So in the next video, we'll talk about how to treat that, but you want to make sure to establish which type of physical dysfunction you have so that you know how to do the circuit in the next round that'll get you to solve the problem as fast as possible. The second one is bursitis. Bursitis is not one you hear very commonly. It's actually hard to diagnose, but essentially you have these burst cell pockets that are in between the joints. Think of them as like pads in between bones, and they're there to kind of absorb shock and to make sure the bones don't have to come in direct contact with each other. Those sacs, they're filled with fluid and really sensitive material. So 1, you don't want one to burst, but 2, bursitis, back to the itis, it's a swelling in that pocket, and that's going to come with pressure against the joints, and that you will feel as pain. Now keep in mind, when you rest and you're told to rest, that swelling will go down. That does not mean you cured it. I want to really point that out. A lot of people think they're like, oh, I feel better now because it doesn't hurt. Inflammation will always go down after you sleep for a while, rest, recover, eat healthy for a little bit, take any type of anti-inflammatories like aspirins. All those will help the swelling. Doesn't mean you're cured, and make sure you know that, all right? So try to find the dysfunction, the point of the pain. So with frotage in the shoulder, what's going on is you don't have a very lubricated socket here. What you want is something that moves a little bit more like this, right? Something that's just a fluid in the socket and every muscle surrounding it, as opposed to if you did something like this and you feel like your whole shoulder blade is moving, right? Or you feel like your whole the upper body is moving, that's bad. All right, what it means is you have a lot of almost atrophied muscles that are holding this shoulder in place, and it's reducing movement and restriction. So whenever you're doing like a bench press or a push-up, you notice that you can't seem to move the shoulder right spot. You won't notice it. What's gonna happen is that you're gonna be using all elbows and the backside of your shoulder, and nothing else is gonna move. You're gonna be doing something like this. And that's really bad for the shoulder, all right? And it's gonna cause a lot of shoulder pain. So we'll talk about how to treat that in a second as well. We have good old-fashioned muscle strain. Only happens if you're the type of person who generally overtrains, like you're the kind of person who likes to do 2 workouts a day, you know, or have to do every day, don't like to rest. What's going on essentially is you're not giving your muscles enough time to rest. Commonly happens here in the bicep, also happens a lot in the pec, where people like to do the push-ups a lot, like to do the curls a lot. Regardless of which type of shoulder injury or dysfunction you might have, it's important to know which one you do have so you know how to overcome that problem. If you want to treat yourself, and you can, if you follow along these type of tips and videos, you can correct this function on your own without any help, as long as it is a mild pain. If you have a serious injury or pain, please of course seek a medical professional to help treat that for you. In the next video, we'll talk about a circuit you can do to help treat most types of shoulder pain. Now, if you watch any one of our videos, you know that we have 5 modalities that we like to train into to correct dysfunction and increase performance and hopefully your aesthetic ability. Those 5 are mobility, stability, strength, power, and endurance. Let's get into the first one, mobility. With shoulder dysfunction, we're going to treat the most common things that we see with shoulder problems. We're starting to see the same things over and over and over with a lot of our clients. One of them being a very compressed anterior deltoid here, and then a bicep problem here, right? So tight on both these sections was causing this here. So this circuit, starting with mobility, will be all about getting that muscle open. Mobility is about increasing your range of motion under force. Right here, we're forcing that tissue open into giving us more of a range of motion, especially if you have frozen shoulder. This will help a lot. It's called an anterior banded stretch. You will do this for about 3 rounds of 12 reps. This whole circuit, by the way, you'll do for 3 rounds. Then once we have the muscles that are problems mobilized, we're gonna stabilize that tissue. And so here, I'm gonna do some push-ups, and I'm gonna get my head way over. I'm gonna get my head way over the Bosu, come down, like here, way out here, not here, out here. This is really gonna engage my pecs, so my pecs can support the entire system, and that is the point of stability, is getting every musculature to support that complex motion, to support that system. Do whatever you can out here, on your knees, or if you wanna make it more advanced, there's a balance board over there in the corner, and that will make it much more complicated when you're trying to do your balance. It's very hard. Now you wanna do something, put load under those muscles that we just mobilize, and then you can go down to doing a hard version. Like, imagine this is a chair behind me. This is like an elevated push-up. This is a harder version of a push-up that I would normally do. Whatever the hardest version of a push-up, do that. And then you want to do power. Now, of course, if you're incredibly athletic, your power is going to be more like a plyo push-up. It's complex. It is something like that, okay? If you can't do that, I highly recommend getting into like a bench or a bridge position. Imagine I have 2 of these. You know, use your creative imagination process. Come down here nice and slow, and then press through. See how that kettlebell just jumped? Here, and then, see, that's how you want. You want to be so explosive that this stuff moves like that. And that's explosive, that's power. That's one of the most important modalities for developing the aesthetic part, if that's what you're looking for. And then endurance, think about the easiest version of a push-up that you can do, and then do that for reps. So for me, by the end of my circuit, my chest is getting pretty tired. I've stabilized, I've mobilized, I've strengthened, and I've used power, and I'm gonna go for reps here, right? So I'll do it off my knees and try to finish off using proper technique. Shoulders back, shoulders forward, head way out here. Using those modalities in a way that's gonna help change this function, increase performance, and increase aesthetic. If you want a much better breakdown and detail of every single thing we covered here, we have a fitness masterclass available on the website. Just go, sign up for it. We'll send you the link to get access to it. And if not, just keep watching these videos. All right, we have a lot of content available for you. I'm Danny of RX Fit, Alex behind the camera, and we'll see you next time.